Hello, Jane Jackson here, soul coach and energy practitioner. I work with women to help them to release any dis-ease from their mind, body and spirit to create a life of ease and flow. Now, I felt really called to make this video because I don't think I'm getting it across enough how much our thoughts and our past experiences are impacting on our health and our well-being and showing up as all sorts of emotional difficulties and blocks. And the reason why I kind of realised that I'm not getting that message out enough is I've just finished working with a client and we've been working together for about a month. And one of the things that she wanted to work on was this constant anxiety that was ever present in her life. And we were able to take it back to an incident that happened for her as a baby. And we were able to relate that to feelings of being fearful, because of course anxiety isn't an emotion in of itself. It is just a symptom of one of the core emotions, the core emotion usually being fear. Now, as a 6-month-old baby, she was taken into hospital for a gastric problem, and I think she was in there for about a week. But can you imagine what it is like for a 6-month-old baby who doesn't quite understand the communication of the spoken word? So one minute you're happy being looked after by your mum, being surrounded by love and cuddles, and the next minute you're in this strange environment with these strange smells, strange people around you who are not giving you cuddles, who are not emitting the lovely oxytocin that you and your mum get from being held. There's none of that around. All you know is that you don't feel good, and you're trying to communicate this through crying, and the more that you cry, the more you're left alone. So you can imagine that as a 6-month-old baby, that would create quite an intense experience of fear. And this fear has stayed lodged within her physical and emotional body, and as an adult has created all sorts of difficulties. Now, she related to me that she had felt feelings of anxiety for many, many years, and she couldn't even remember when it had started. But yesterday, when we were working, had our final session, she shared with me that one of the things that she'd really like to work on was her sleep. So her sleep patterns were still being broken. It had improved considerably since we started working, but she was still waking up 2 or 3 times in the night feeling anxious. And I asked her when was the first time that she remembered experiencing broken sleep and waking up feeling anxious. And for the first time, we've been working together for quite a while. For the first time, she shared that she had had 3 years off work due to an illness. And the reason why I was shocked was because I clearly not getting the message across strong enough how much our physical and mental and emotional well-being is all intertwined and connected. So these feelings of the sleeplessness, and the anxiety, waking up in the night, it started happening as she was coming out of a very long-term chronic illness and needing to start a new life. And what we discovered was that what was present for her at the time was this fear of the unknown. She didn't know what her life was going to be like now. She knew that she couldn't do the job that she'd always been doing. She knew that there had to be changes, significant changes, but she didn't know how it was going to be. And this fear of the unknown kind of rose its ugly head. But it wasn't that was the real trigger. The real trigger was that it was a remembering of that experience of being a 6-month-old baby in hospital, suddenly separated from her mother in this strange environment where no one could communicate to her what was going on, what was happening. So her 6-month-old self, for all she knew, this was what her life was going to be like from now on. And it created this immense sense of fear. That is what was triggered by the thought of returning into or starting a new life following illness for 3 years. Incredible, isn't it? So when we were able to start tapping on that to release some of the emotions, when she was thinking about that time when her sleepless nights had started, she was able to feel the intensity of the anxiety start to drop. One of the things that I have found in working with my clients, one of the things that I know is absolutely key to the healing is to play that role of the detective, of finding out when we first had those experiences of physical illness come up, what was going on in our lives, what emotion what was going on, how did you feel, what emotion could you identify? And then we play detective and we go back in time to when they can remember very first time ever feeling that emotion, because it usually is located within something from very early childhood or up until about 7 years of age. And so often when I work with clients, they say to me, but I didn't experience any childhood trauma. And it is so important for you to know that when we talk about childhood trauma, it's not always the trauma of abuse, physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, but it can be the trauma of going into a hospital, being parted from your caregiver, not knowing, not understanding what is going on. It could be ill health, it could be the loss of a parent, it could be bullying at school, it could be just one incident from school, from early school, that was so traumatizing to you as a child that it has caused this disruption in your energy system. And as you've gone on into adult life, it's been triggered again and again and again. So when I work with clients and they present with something that's very present for them in the here and now, and it might be feelings of anxiety or depression or stress or blocks, they just don't know where they're going, and then we always go back in time to childhood to discover, to unpick, to unravel what was going on. And the thing I love so much about working with emotional freedom technique is that we can do this in such a gentle, safe way, so that it's not like, I don't know if you've ever experienced counselling or talking therapies where you're talking about your past trauma and your past pain, and you're reliving it and you're feeling it, and you come out of a session and you just feel like shit because you've reactivated all of those emotions. When we're working with emotional freedom technique, it's not like that. So quite often, if there has been a really intense trauma from childhood or from the past, I will use a technique where you're not even where we are reducing the levels of emotion before we engage thinking about it. And so what happens is that whilst we're tapping on it and we're talking about it, we are releasing the energy. Yes, so sometimes it can release a lot of tears, but that's tears that have been suppressed and held back. And so often at the end of a session, even when we have brought up some really difficult trauma, clients leave feeling so peaceful and light and free. It's not called emotional freedom technique for nothing, because that's exactly how you feel at the end of it. So that's why I wanted to do just this short video today, because I really, really want you to get that every incident of significant illness that's showing up in your life or has showed up in your life, all of that is relevant. It's relevant to how you are feeling emotionally, how you're feeling mentally, physically, mentally, emotionally. It's all connected. It is all connected. So when you feel physically unwell, just tune into yourself. Just ask yourself, what is the emotion that's underlying this? If this cold or this sore throat were an emotion, what would it be? Why? What is it that triggered this in me now? Start being your own detective and start finding out what it is that is triggering ill health in your body, and then release it with tapping. That's all I wanted to share today. Thanks for watching. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.